Hi, my name is Michael Smith for Nevada Trails. My guest tonight is Craig Downer. He is a noted ecologist and an author, and tonight he's going to show me his latest travels, and then a little bit later in the show he's going to read some from his new book. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I've always enjoyed your talks and your books and your displays, and so I'm just happy you're there on the show to educate me more on what's going on. And I heard you did some traveling lately.
Yeah, the past 3 weeks, a little over that, I've been on quite a tour here throughout the West. I went up through the Basque Country in southern Oregon, up to where my brother lives in near Boise, and spent a few days there with him. And then I went on to see some of the national monuments and great national parks here in the West.
Well, it's fantastic. I heard you took some pictures here.
Oh yeah, just a few, little under 1,000.
1,000? Well, we have a few here for it.
Right.
I hear someone said fossil beds. Now, what's the fossil beds?
Yeah, the Hagerman National Horse Fossil Monument is quite a sight there in southeastern Idaho, where there's a tremendous find of horse fossil remains, mainly of the species called Equus simplicidens, which was a predecessor of the modern horse Equus caballus. And just fascinating for being a student myself of horse evolution and ecology to see the prima facie evidence of the great horse family's evolution here in North America.
Well, now you're talking fossils, so obviously it's old. How old are these horse remains?
They go back 3-4 million years, and there is proof that not only the horse family had its cradle of evolution here in North America, but the genus Equus and even the modern species Equus caballus originated about 1.8 million years ago here in the North American continent, in the very areas here where some of their roundabout ancestors who came back and repopulated still live in the wild horse herds.
Well, how would these horses' remains end up in this area, though?
There had been a series of floods in the right conditions whereby sediment was deposited over their remains, and they became fossilized, not dispersed. Usually when there's a massive flooding and a lot of sediment rapidly deposited, then
so they all end up in the same location.
Yeah, then a large number of these Equus simplicidens became encased in mud, and then later through the filtration of the mineral waters, their cells were replaced by mineral.
Well, you had to be like a kid in a candy store.
Oh yeah,
because the last show you were on with us, you were talking about the proof.
Yeah.
Well, here you have a lot of proof.
and there was the proof. There was a national monument with their own museum telling me what I've been trying to tell the public for years, that not just the horse family and genus, but the very species, Equus caballus, evolved here in North America and had its vast duration of evolution here in North America.
And you probably had people there that you could talk to about this as well.
Oh yeah.
They're probably in heaven to talk to someone like yourself.
Oh yeah, and they were really pleased. And I'd like to go out with them. They allow people to go out with them during certain months, so I want to sign up for the next foray.
Well, that sounds good, because that's the proof right there.
Yeah. Just have to use your imagination a little bit and look at the bones and put one and one together and make two, and there you have your story,
Excellent. That's real life history there.
Yeah.
And then this picture's about this is from the museum?
Yeah. I was really pleased about this picture because it specifically states that there was a whole lineage of evolution that occurred with a lot of side branches, but that overall there was a progressive movement, and that the modern day species, the one we have used and domesticated, Equus caballus, now these scientists accept and put right in their exhibit. It was right here, 1.8 million years ago, its place of origin, North America. In many of the same areas where the wild horses today have their herd areas, they were here, and the fossil evidence proves that. So why So many of our public servants or other people that should know better persist in saying they're exotic or don't belong here, including members of the Sierra Club or the Audubon Society. Just seems disingenuous to me.
Well, maybe you should just give them directions to that park.
Yeah, yeah, they're simple.
We'll send them a copy of the show, and with the little picture, it might be simple enough for them.
Just get on 94 from Boise and go a couple hours, and you're there.
Okay, well, sounds like you had a great vacation.
Oh yeah, and then afterwards, I went up to this mammoth cavern on the way to the craters of the moon, where I camped, and then later on went on to Yellowstone in the Grand Teton National Parks. Just fabulous area, one of the world's great preserved areas, over 2.2 million acres there preserved.
Well, this is, I don't know what that is. Is that hot something?
At the Mammoth Cavern, which is a private exhibit, you can enter a tremendous cavern there, which I did with a little lantern. But coming out, you can go into this museum that this family has, an old pioneering family, and they have hunted animals from all over the world, including this lynx-like animal, which had a particularly kind of spooky look to him, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I took the picture of so many of them, including this.
I couldn't figure out what that was.
I think it's as I remember, it's called a Siberian Lynx, and they also have the Kamchatka giant brown bear there, which they've hunted. Now, I'm not exactly pleased about their blasting all these animals, many of which are rare and endangered.
We had people on from a zoo not too long ago, and they had a beautiful cat that was on the set, and you would never want to shoot it. It was a handful, but you wouldn't want to shoot it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, so many of these animals are really beleaguered as far as their survival on Earth, and to promote their trophy hunting.
That's silly.
I think is not the right thing to do.
Well, when I was young, some people tried to get me to hunt, and I just do a warning shot. Run. If I don't eat it, I'm not going to kill it. So
yeah, I mean, if a person's really has the necessity of killing an animal to live, but just to kill it for the pleasure, I don't understand that too well.
No, there's no need to in my book either.
Rather let the natural predators like the lynx or the bear kill as part of the balance of nature. I think people already take so much from the natural world. There are certain areas where they should live, like the great parks here that we've established.
Well, that's why we're trying to fix them so much. We're putting things back in there that we took out before. So the wolf and the coyotes and things like that.
Yeah, and they're in Yellowstone in Grand Teton. They've reintroduced the gray wolf, and it's doing very well.
Yeah.
And the bison is making a big comeback there. And
so every time we meddle, we learn the hard way, and unfortunately, so does nature. And it takes 20 years to get back to where we were before.
Yeah, but it can. The beautiful thing is it can happen. We people just have to have the consensus and the understanding and make the willing sacrifices to allow it to happen.
Well, you just keep on coming on the show and teaching us what to do, and we'll see what's going on. And then here you went to. Is this one of the national parks you were talking about?
I went on to Craters of the Moon National Monument, which is a little to the northeast of that Mammoth Cavern. And there you see the tremendous forces of the molten magma that thrusts itself up from miles below the Earth. This is similar to what you'd see in Hawaii, what they call the rope lava or the pohoihoi, and the other is the real sharp lava that kind of breaks in a brittle fashion called the aa. And you can see all this here. It's a wonderful monument to visit as well. I did a morning hike there with the ranger. Okay, well, my main objective was Yellowstone in the Grand Tetons. So here you're looking over Jackson Lake toward the Grand Tetons. the shear upthrust. This area is a tremendous caldera. I verified from several of the park rangers and the exhibits that it is considered the biggest in the world of the known craters. It's one of the big super volcanoes, this Yellowstone area. Mm-hmm. And there's a tremendous upthrust of the Rockies. And at the same time, there's even a more accelerated downthrust around the Jackson Hole area. So you're getting this real shear effect. And the magma is very close to the surface there, just about, I think, 3-4 miles below the surface. There's this tremendous pool of molten magma. Mm. And it's such a vast crater that for years it wasn't recognized until in relatively recent times. Airline pilots and geologists did recognize the perimeter of these craters. And there had been 3 major eruptions. The most recent was 640,000 years ago. And then there was one at 1.3 million and another at 2.2 million. And each time it's erupted, it's changed life on this earth. It's such a tremendous eruption that the ash and the fallout just alters the evolutionary history, takes it on another turn because of the massive die-outs.
So we should be good for about 600,000 more years, though.
Well, actually, they're predicting an imminent eruption. Some of them say, well, it's overdue. It could erupt any time because they're noticing bulges. That's something I noticed too. There's a few areas in the park where the terrain is actually bulging up, and the seismologists who monitor S waves and P waves and the different waves that come up and that reveal where the magma is are a bit concerned about a major eruption occurring.
By major, you say affecting the world.
And this would affect all life or it would probably bring an end to civilization. And it'd be kind of like, setting it back, say, okay, let's start again from a little more basic level and see if we can get it right next time.
Okay.
Maybe God's way of saying, okay, let's go back, give you a new slate.
Let's reshuffle the deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go on to another picture, just a little bit more casual. This is some mountains?
Yeah, those are the Tetons themselves. And I was able to climb up pretty close to them through the Jenner, crossing over the Jenny Lake, and then climbing up Cascade Canyon.
Well, that's
gorgeous hike.
That's absolutely beautiful. And you had guides help you on your travels?
Yeah, whenever I needed some help, the park rangers, whenever they were, I attended their talks and their lectures in the evening.
That's excellent.
And I had a nice companion, my Colombian girlfriend, Amparo, who's along with me, that I've known since my Peace Corps days.
Fantastic.
She came up.
Well, Craig, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Craig's going to read some of his some poems from his new book.
Hi, I'm Fish and Game Warden Patrick Foy. Boaters at Lake Tahoe should expect watercraft inspections at all launch sites around the lake. These inspections are designed to prevent the destructive spread of zebra and quagga mussels, as well as other aquatic invasive species. If brought into Lake Tahoe, invasive species will damage boats and the pristine waters and be impossible to remove. Remember to clean, drain, and dry your boat every time before entering a new body of water. Clean boats stop aquatic hitchhikers.
Hi, we're back from break, and now Craig is going to tell us about his new book that's out. What's it called? Streams of the Soul.
Yeah, it's a book of poetry that represents a compilation of poems I've written over many years that mainly inspired.
So when you're out hiking and you're looking at beautiful nature, you try to put it into words?
Yeah, thoughts that come to me, impressions. I've always been... Well, I get this, I think, from my parents. My father and mother were avid readers and had a great feeling for language. So with all the books in the house and everything, was kind of natural that I would focus on words. And they became more meaningful to me over the years. And then I just naturally evolved into writing poetry, or poetic verse would come to me in relation to things I was observing.
Well, I've seen some of your writings in some of the museums around here, and this one though looks like it's pretty major.
It's Streams of the Soul. I've organized it into 20 different categories based on themes. Sometimes it's kind of hard to organize a poem because a poem reaches out in all different directions, but I think I did a fair job, and I'd like to recite one poem.
Sure. Yeah.
I think I mentioned before I've spent a lot of time in the Andes, where I'm trying to get to know and to save this endangered mountain tapir.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very exciting, by the way. Well,
yeah, and I was in Cusco. I gave a presentation there at a biodiversity conference back in 2001. And when I was there, a poem came to me, which I'll recite now. It's called Cusco, Earth's Umbilicus. Cusco is how the original Quechua Indians pronounced what we call Cusco, which in their language means a flea-bitten dog. Mm-hmm. So I would rather go back to their original pronunciation, which is something between a Q and a K, Cusco, some more or less. Cusco, Earth's Umbilicus. These old and tired mountains here in Cusco, what vast and varied tales in truth they tell, not just concerning humankind and gold's elusive quest, but myriads who've here dwelt. The ruins here aren't just of Incan fame, worst ruination, ecosystems wastes. The faults with values, attitudes so lame, on part of man so blind, bad habits, tastes. The Pachamama, Mother Earth, cries out, please rid this monster parasite from me. Please may enlightenment all darkness rout, that all my children may again live free. For Earth's true purpose, noble one, in Thee the Sun commands, with love, respect, live we.
Excellent. That's
Thank
really
you.
good. And you have a whole book of those?
Speaking for Mother Nature, what they call the Pachamama. Mm-hmm. And that just came to me.
Well, that's fantastic.
Pretty much word for word.
Well, your family has to be very proud.
Yeah, I think they thought that was a particularly good one.
And you let your family read the book already?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my mother was very, very proud. And she's read many books, and she said this was her favorite book of all the probably thousands of books that she's read.
Well, she might be biased.
Yeah, just a little bit. But,
well, son, though, that's fantastic.
It meant a lot to me that she would say that anyway.
Well, I've always been very pro-authors, so it's fantastic. And you can buy these nationwide, right?
Yeah, you can. You can call this up, too, online. You can just call it up, www.publishamerica.com/books/10040, or just call up my name, Craig Carpenter Downer. It's using my three names, or Streams of the Soul. Mm-hmm. And I've done several events, and I'm looking forward to doing some more events.
Well, fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was an excellent poem. Would you like to read another one, or would you like to talk about something else?
Since we're on the subject of we have been, the wild horses, I had selected one that came to me too, just in a sort of inspirational manner when I was out a few years ago.
We've been talking about wild horses. We've had a couple. Lacey was singing about the music in her soul.
Yeah.
Then we had a photographer talk about the pictures in his mind, and now we have an author about poetry. So the horses have inspired a lot of people.
Yeah, they're like living poetry to see them out in their free natural state, which in fact is returning to their ancestral place of origin. And I think that's a beautiful thing to recognize.
What's the name of this poem?
It's just called simply Poem to Wild Horses. And came to me when I was walking in the desert in in 1995. I'm a fourth generation Nevadan here, so my descent goes back to the early pioneers that came over. Of course, that's nothing compared with the Native Americans that were here for thousands of years. Still, living here for greater lengths, you start to gain a greater appreciation for what's here, however its history, and to try and look at the broader story or picture.
Actually, I'm relatively new to Nevada, but I think it's kind of a shame the way it's growing. I think it's not doing what I'd like it to do.
Like Las Vegas.
It should go a little bit slower than it just seems so frantic.
Yeah, I think that if people are going to have a pleasant experience here on planet Earth, they're going to have to learn to respect the other life forms that are here, and be willing to make sacrifices so that we can all live in harmony. Mm-hmm. I mean, after all, we don't have to cram everything into one short lifetime. I think that's where the native wisdom of the Native American elders spoke volumes. I had some picture. I can show you some of those later.
Okay.
I took there in Grand Teton. Well, the poem is called "Poem to Wild Horses." I write a poem about the wild horse because there's a lot of feeling here, albeit much long suffering and abuse by man, most gruesome. Yet too vast, wide open spaces, and many lives lived out with grace and in joyful freedom. 'Tis a saga of the Old West, and I believe the New. This story of the wild horse, this enduring, wind-drinking runner of desert and plain, as alas of very time. His story is one with yours and mine. May he reach far upon this earth plain, for 'tis a saga of what this land is yet to be, of a destiny yet unfulfilled, when man and horse in freedom live, once again with mutual respect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of how the Indian lived with the horse in freedom, and they had respect for one another and the right to be free. Well, I think that was so much of the part of the Wild Horse Act, to recognize another a magnificent animal that's done so much for man over the thousands of years. Well, why can't he share freedom? And what is freedom anyway? Is freedom, it isn't just our right to plunder and consume and do. I think in the greater sense, freedom belongs to all life, all the different creatures, and particularly such a magnificent animal as the horse.
Oh, I think so too. The wild horses has been one of the most fun things I've ever had here.
Yeah.
When I first moved to Nevada, I was just driving because everything is so different, and
Right.
and I saw these horses and I couldn't find any fence. I said, "Where's the fence?"
Yeah, being from the east.
Yeah. Where's the fence?
Right.
And then I just parked the car, and they were just really beautiful, and they didn't seem to bother me, or I didn't bother them, and just watched. And then the sun
Right.
kind of set, and I went back home, and I told some friends about it, and they said, "You saw some wild horses?" And I said, "No." I just thought, but I was hooked. And the funny thing was, I went back and then never seen them again.
Yeah, well, they move around long, broad areas if people allow them to. Don't erect a lot of fences and don't seal off all the springs. And I think that's one of the big challenges now, because I used to know Wild Horse Annie, and I worked with her, and she spearheaded this movement to have a small remnant of our public land set aside for wild horses and wild burros. The lamentable thing is that today this law has been almost entirely sabotaged by vested interests that have targeted them for elimination on their rightful sanctuaries. Doesn't mean the law doesn't still apply. Just means that it's gone astray, but it can be reinstated, and the wild horses and burros can be reinstated in their rightful legal areas. So this is one of the chief aims I have in
Well, we'll just keep on trying and educating the public. And
Yeah.
we've got photography, we've got poetry now, and we have music. You know, Lacey and
Lacey,
and so we'll just keep on
amazing
trying.
gift she has for,
But
for song.
your poetry is very special. I look forward to getting the book and reading more because.
Yes. Well, I'll be glad to read you the sequel, because as I was walking along in the desert, this first poem came to me, and then a sequel came, which was pretty much like the same poem, and I just simply titled that Poem to Freedom. I like it wild and rough and free, being in a place and in a company where life must prove its mettle true, and there's no sissing pampering, for one must become universally attuned through virtuous and honest striving, even as all creatures do, to life's true cause and meaning, and so to that great beyond, recognizing all kinds as in spirit one. No fence confining, horse running free, no murderous eye denying, eagle soaring to the sun. Each individual being, in whatever house or body dwelling, seeking and finding true wisdom, true freedom, living, breathing with mutual respect and reverence, praising we each in every possible way that divine nature which reigneth over all.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, your mom's just got to be really proud. I was kind of
Thank you.
flashing back to my creative writing classes in college, and they would have loved that book. My
Well,
teachers
yeah,
were
I'm
really,
trying to bring more attention to the messages that I. And
well,
I-
when you're out in the field, like doing the hiking, like we just saw some of your earlier pictures, do you have you write as you do when you get these thoughts, or do you?
Yeah, I've written. I'm a kind of a compulsive writer. I think it would take me so many years to go through all the notes that I've written.
Actually, I'm the same way. I've got notes and stories, ideas, and things in a big locker, and I keep on moving it around, even though some of the stuff 40 years old. And
Yeah.
and I don't know. I just kind of when I look at it, and I kind of gauge where my writing was back when I was 16 to now. It's like, hey, it wasn't that bad,
Yeah, right.
So some of these things that you wrote years ago are from
Yeah.
your youth too. Something from your youth, or is this all like the last 10 years?
Oh no, a lot going way back from my youth as well.
So
I
you snuck a
started
few of
writing.
those 16-year-old ones in there too. Yeah,
Right,
that's what
yeah.
I would probably do too, because I have a lot of things I was real proud of, and just didn't know how to get it out there.
Yeah, I
So-
always put the date, put the year anyway.
So hopefully they can get a hold of you on the website you just mentioned.
Yeah, they can get the book there at just www.publishamerica.com. And
Ask for Streams of the Soul.
yeah, and also you can just call up my name or call up Streams of the Soul, the title, and my name, my full name, Craig Carpenter Downer, and then you'll see some publicity that's been done on the book.
Well, hopefully in our region it'll be number one, because I think it's fantastic, and I don't claim to be the greatest writer, but I do know what I like, and that sounded very good.
Yeah, well,
all three.
I think a lot of it, I really admire the poets that I've met in Latin America because they're really serious and they put so much into the delivery of their poems. And any self-respecting poet there has his poem down by heart. And he doesn't have to read it or anything. He knows the meaning and feeling, everything. He delivers it like an actor would.
Well, Craig, our time went really fast, so you're going to have to come back and we'll do more of your hiking trails. But your poetry is fantastic, and I look forward to reading your book.
Well, I really appreciate that, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. This has been Michael Smith for Nevada Trails.